So my mother, my crow prototype. My mother wrote me a 14 or 15 page letter telling me how much she enjoyed watching the videos and the dogs and just seeing all the stuff in the shop. So I changed positions to give her a view of a different side of the shop. I even put all my bows back up there. I had to take them all down because Clovis, eating the bottom of my bows, eating my bowstrings, took one of my bows and chewed the rawhide off the bottom of it. So I took them all in the house and been tripping over them for 2 or 3 months. I figured I'd give it a shot and bring him back out. Hopefully he's past his chewing stage. But at any rate, I've been hinting around about reading this Chitlins and Caviar because there's been a couple queries about, what does that mean? Back in the video where I read the letter to Kayla, anyway, so I was going to read it, but as much as I hate to do it, I have a bit of a confession to make. I've decided that not all technology is bad. Just with this YouTube thing that Angela set up for me, and now that I'm starting to figure out the whole texting thing. It's just I've been able to contact or get in contact with people I haven't seen or talked to in years. I don't know. I've just changed my point of view on it for the most part. I guess I figured I'd get ahead of it because sooner or later it was going to bite me in the ass. Someone's going to start picking on me about if I hate technology so much, why am I texting and making videos? So I'm wrong. I'm saying wrong. I don't like to say I'm wrong, but it's not all bad. I think my biggest issue with texting was, at least the way I've perceived it, is people were never in the moment. When they're in the moment, they're always in the moment of their phone and they're missing all the shit that's going on around them. I just watch people that never put their phone down or never look up, or I don't know. That's what my attitude about texting was. Anyway, enough of that. I've changed my mind. All technology is not bad. So this is the story, Chitlins and Caviar, whom my parents already know it, and I don't know who knows it and who doesn't know it, but it's sort of the prequel miracle to the Kayla miracle thing. I think I can actually get through this without crying. I'm not sure. It happened 8 or 9 years ago, I guess. It's not that it's sad. I mean, none of this stuff is really sad. It's just emotional. And this story, this true story, was very emotional as well. So I forget who specifically was asking me about what the hell it meant. Let's try it, see what happens. All right, chitlins and caviar. Have you ever known someone you cared deeply about, but when you're together, they aggravate you to no end? I have. It's a friend of mine. Actually, he's my best friend. You never know how it's going to be when we get together. Some days we're like peanut butter and jelly, and others we're like chitlins and caviar. It's best just to keep us apart. We've been hunting buddies for years now, and when deer season comes in, he turns into a certifiable nut job. I mean, truly. It's like he has tunnel vision and gets possessed. Stubborn and unyielding, he goes on and on, day and night, for weeks on end. Hunting deer, chasing deer, tracking deer, finding deer, eating deer. Deer, 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 deer. It's insane. I've often joked with him, saying that he's going to kill himself over some scrawny deer, but in truth, it has always been a real concern. But you can't stop him. He's just a dog with a bone. Don't get between him and his hunting. Anyway, me and my buddy were getting ready to put on a deer drive one day last year. We've been bickering at each other all morning. I want to do this, and he wants to do that kind of bickering. We were having one of those chitlins and caviar days. To make matters worse, we had a bunch of new guys that didn't know where to go, and we were trying to train some new puppies to run deer. In addition to all of this, neither one of us are as young as we used to be. My buddy was really starting to show his age. He has some health issues anyway, and countless years of deer hunting were beginning to take their toll. Excuse me. So as we're walking down this dirt road, griping at each other, I could see in his face it was just becoming too much for him. So I asked him, "You doing all right?" There was no response as he stormed ahead of me. "Come on, man, chill out." But instead, he hastened his march, tripping over puppies and barking out orders. "Hey, will you relax?" Again, no response. Only a squealing hound as it rolled out from under his feet. I thought to myself, maybe he just needs some time to himself. But I sensed there was real trouble brewing. Eventually, our trek led us to an old abandoned home site where we passed under a dark looming walnut tree. It was then I knew something was wrong. As he walked, he started veering off to one side and then staggered a bit. I had hoped it was the heavy mud, but my heart knew better. Trying to lighten the mood a bit, but still concerned, I asked him, "Hey, walk much? What's wrong? You drunk or something?" Again, no response. Then all of a sudden, he hit the ground like a tree under the axe. This was no slip. I ran to catch up to him, all the while yelling, "You okay? What's wrong?" When I finally reached him, puppies were jumping all over his head, pressing his face into the mud. I slid to a stop on my knees and started heaving dogs left and right over my shoulders. Then I rolled him over and cradled his head in my lap. "You okay, man? What's up?" Again, no response. Fuck. Not gonna do this. A sick, panicky feeling came over me, and my heart felt like it was in my throat. It was a horrid scene. His arms and legs were rigid and twitching while his eyes rolled back and forth in his head. His breathing became short, raspy, and irregular. As the clouds thickened overhead, it became unusually dark. The black, crusty limbs of the walnut seemed like emaciated fingers on the hand of death, probing and scratching for a firm grip. I feared the worst as death tickled and poked all around me. Helpless and in shock, deep in the woods, miles from any medical help, there is nothing I can do but hold my friend and watch as he dies. Shaking and grasping for air, I wipe the mud from his eyes and caress his head. In an effort to comfort him, I whisper in his ear, "It's all right, man. You're doing what you love to do, and you're surrounded by friends and family. Don't you worry, I'll train these puppies just like you would. Those deer won't stand a chance. You go ahead and rest now. You've done enough. Let me take over." As the last word rolled off my tongue, his body went limp, and his last gravelly breath was released. He was gone. Under ever darkening skies, those skeletal limbs placed a black shroud over me as I sat in the mud weeping quietly. Even the puppies seemed to mourn as they whimpered and lay down in a circle around me. As tears streamed down, my face turned upward, and I cried a silent prayer toward the cloudy heavens. Excuse me. I was not ready to let him go. This could not be the end. I prayed for more time. Again, I received no response. Eventually, I was overcome with angst, and I screamed and wailed out loud, rattling the dry, bony tree limbs. But as my strife-filled objections rolled upward, it seemed as though the very breath from my lungs departed the clouds, and a brilliant cerulean blue sky beamed down. Its radiance descended through the walnut limbs and rained dancing shadows of light upon the lifeless body of my friend. As this heavenly luminescence swirled like waves, I felt a movement within my arms. I peered down just as he lifted his head from my lap, and his eyes rolled forward. I gazed in disbelief into their reflections as the lifeless gray turned brilliant blue, and prismed tears mirrored starry eyes. Life was returned to his body. Then a familiar sound drummed out that brought a familiar smile to my face. Thump, 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 thump. That bullwhip tail of his was beating the ground like a pile driver. Then with one leap, Ishi, my dog, my best friend, was back on his feet, knocking me on my back in his escape. Before I could roll over and stand up, he was gone chasing a deer, barking out orders to a litter of puppies. I listened to Ishi and his pups howl and moan till I could hear them no more. In that hollow silence, I finally received a response. I looked to the sky and said a silent thank you as the clouds closed in and the dancing light disappeared. Now, you may or may not think that I witnessed a miracle that day. What you choose to believe is irrelevant. How you go about deciding is. What if a miracle is not so miraculous? Is it any less of a gift? What if the gift is not what you see in the box, but the wrapping paper in which it was delivered? Would you know you were given a miracle? Things are not always as they seem, and grace often hides in the comments. So what do you think? Did the hand of God come down and return my friend to the living, or did he just have a seizure? Before you decide, consider this. Perhaps the miracle was not a resurrection, but a response. Remember, in that hollow silence, I finally received a response. Did you hear what I heard? Did you receive the same gift? Did grace wrap itself around the box and deliver you a miracle? It did for me, for in that hollow silence, a resounding reminder rang true. Our time here is not infinite, and the gift of more time is a miracle. All too often we forget this and waste precious moments striving for inconsequential goals and arguing over the best manner in which to belittle ourselves. It takes time and clarity to discern what's truly important. And when you've done that, you'll begin to see miracles all around you. So if you're lucky enough to have someone or something who loves you, even when you're old and bitter, angry or wrong, or stubborn and unyielding, consider it a miracle, because a time will come when they could leave by their will or that of a greater power. Find the clarity to enjoy your time together. Have more peanut butter and jelly days, and forget about the chitlins and caviar. Love your family, enjoy your friends, and pet your dog, because you never know, this may be his last hunt. I almost lost it. True story. Anyway, to whoever was asking me, that's what chitlins and caviar means. I guess the analogy, peanut butter and jelly, chitlins and caviar. I mean, I've caught myself doing it, just making myself miserable trying to do something that is just not that damn important. Anyway, that's what I was trying to express to Kayla. Even though her mother's gone, we all got to move on and keep trying to make our own lives better. And I didn't think she'd understand what it meant, so I gave her a copy of this too. At any rate, I have about decided I'm done with the whole miracle theme. I think that's my last miracle writing. So I've got some other stories that are kind of comical. Nice change of pace to smile about something. Again, not that this is sad. It's just emotional. But maybe next week, after I fix and finish this damn bond rod thing that I'm making, maybe we'll read something a little more humorous. Yeah. All right. I'll catch you later, Mom and Dad.